think a lot of people, if not most people, probably think of you as this iconic actor. And yet you have this secret life, or not so secret, because you're writing for The Atlantic, National Geographic, Men's Journal.
Yes, I do have this other.
How did this happen?
It happened. I've always been a big traveler and a big fan of travel writing. And I met the editor, a guy named Keith Bellows, of a magazine called National Geographic Traveler, at a party about 7 or 8 years ago. I said, "You ought to let me write for your magazine." He said, "Why?" I said, "Well, I travel a lot and I know how to tell a story." And he thought that was a good answer.
Yeah.
And so, because most travel writing you read about in magazines particularly is, you don't get a good story. You just get, I went here, I did this, and it's a bit flat and dull.
The hotel was okay, the food was okay.
Yeah,
whatever.
and so I did a piece for him, and it went well, and then they gave me another one, and it just sort of grew and expanded out of that.
So you actually wrote that you think traveling makes you a better person, or I guess, let me be more specific, that maybe you're more at home sometimes in certain places than
I do find that in my
life.
life.
At home. Do you?
I find myself feeling more at home in myself the farther away from home I am.
Really?
Often. Yeah, I think so. I think I find myself in a real nice way when I'm traveling and when I'm sort of broken out of my normal routine and dependent on the kindness of strangers. You know, I think I'm a better version of myself, for sure. For sure. I think most people are.
But as Americans, compared to, I think, people everywhere else around the world, we travel a lot less, truthfully.
Well, that's my big pet peeve. I think Americans have, 28% of Americans have passports, and half of those use them. I think it's appalling. I mean, I think America would be a vastly different place if people traveled. I think we're very, this is my soapbox, but I think Americans are a very fearful country, and I think we'd be a lot less fearful if we got out in the world and saw that, made ourselves vulnerable to other people and their cultures.
But why do you think that is? Why do you think people aren't as inclined to go
Well,
on
we sort
adventures?
of, we're isolated here.
And we're comfortable,
And we're comfortable here. And if you want to go far away, you can go far away and still use dollars. And everybody's comfortable. You know, in Europe, you're in a different country, a different culture.
Right.
But and I think it's a shame.
I got to ask you about a trip to Ethiopia, because I heard you got into a little trouble with the law.
It seems I've been arrested. More later.
What happened?
Well, I was doing a piece for a magazine, and the sort of concept of the piece was, we just send you somewhere, we're not telling you where you're going, you just go. We'll give you a plane ticket and you go. So I ended up in Ethiopia unannounced, and I was visiting these churches in Lalibela, which is I loved Ethiopia, amazing place, and but I didn't have a ticket for some reason, and a man had a gun, and he arrested me, and, you know, and it was a complete misunderstanding, but it made good
Made
copy.
for good copy.
You know? And then I got in all sorts of trouble with the consulate from Ethiopia, going, "Why are you saying this to me?" But anyway, I loved Ethiopia, and they were very kind to me.
Would you ever give up acting to do this full time?
No, I love acting. I mean, they sort of feed each other. You know, in acting, you have to be really observant if you're good. You know, hopefully you're observant, and so that feeds into the writing and sort of feeds into the storytelling and all that. And, you know, I think they feed each other in a certain way.